Hi everybody, my name is Lawson Priess. With me is Drake Copeland. We're both tech service here in the Mid-South. Wanted to take a moment, really highlight one product, Authority Supreme, and really focus on the two components that makes it a pretty broad spectrum, long-lasting product for us to use as a soybean pre-emergence product. But at first, I'm going to turn it over to Drake, let him talk about sulfentrazone, one of the components of Authority Supreme.
Yeah, so at FMC, we've had Authority brand products for a while now, and one of those, the backbone of those products has been sulfentrazone. And what I'm standing in right now is a 8-ounce use rate of Spartan only across this population. Real quick on Spartan or sulfentrazone, it is a group 14 herbicide, so it's in the PPO class of chemistry. This product in particular, not great from a post-activity standpoint, but really good from a soil residual standpoint. You see that in this plot here. We've got heavy palmer pressure. Again, these are probably 40-ish days out, so you're seeing some palmer breakthrough. But one of the things that we notice and talk about with sulfentrazone is definitely pigweed control. It'll pick up larger seeded broadleaves like morning glory. You'll see prickly side activity. But when you get rates high enough, you can tend to see some grass activity. And there's a lot of broadleaf signal grass here today. And with the rate we have with Spartan here, you're starting to see some of that grass suppression that you'll see on certain weed species. But again, with sulfentrazone, it is the backbone of our Authority brands. Just wanted to take a moment and talk about the key aspects of sulfentrazone and how it acts in a pre-herbicide application. And when we put out Priess, Lawson, one of the big things we want is, can it activate quickly? And this is one that we definitely are confident in. It doesn't need a ton of water to get activated and get going, which is a good thing and a good partner for the next product that we're going to talk about, or next piece of Authority Supreme in terms of herbicide activation. So sulfentrazone, really good at getting in the soil and start working fast for you. All right, so we're going to talk about the second piece of Authority Supreme. We've already touched on sulfentrazone, but Lawson, will you talk to us a little bit about Anthem Max or peroxysulfone piece of Authority?
Yeah, absolutely. Here in the Mid-South, we're really struggling with our Group 15 chemistry, particularly like S-metolachlor, dimethamid-P, or acetochlor, the outlook warrant duals of the world in terms of controlling pigweed and keeping it from coming out of the ground. We're running into some Group 15 resistance, especially in Arkansas, Boot Hill, Missouri, a few other locations as well. So peroxysulfone is in a different family of Group 15s. It's in the azoxyzoline family, and it's the longest lasting Group 15 compared to the outlook duals and warrants. So provides the longest lasting residual control out of that class, plus it has no resistance options, and we're seeing a lot more people adopt Anthem Max in their soybean program, or a product like Authority Supreme where it's paired with Spartan or sulfentrazone for a really broad spectrum option in terms of the weeds we're going to control. So the plot we're standing in is 3.5 ounces of Anthem Max, and we're 40 days after application. This is just bare ground trial. You can see, starting to see a few pigweeds start to pop through, but really outstanding control from a single pre-application to last nearly 40 days.
Yeah, and I think if you pair this with sulfentrazone like we saw in that plot earlier, that's why we see such good performance out of Authority Supreme. And one thing, Lawson, I'll ask you just because we're in the Mid-South, and this is something we're dealing with too, is PPO resistance. A lot of our PPOs from a post standpoint aren't working like they used to. And I think it's important to understand, kind of what you're seeing, what I'm seeing from a soil residual standpoint with these PPO herbicides. We're still getting a lot of activity there.
Yeah, Drake, we are. And the pigweed population here that we just looked at, or what we're standing in, is PPO resistant. I've sprayed Reflex or Famecifin on this population and killed 10-20% of the pigweed from a post standpoint. But the pre-PPO products like Spartan still has activity on those weeds. Has to do with them being so small and they can't metabolize those herbicides. So yes, we're still getting a lot of activity out of our PPO class of chemistry from a pre-standpoint.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what we've talked about in winter meetings with growers, consultants, etc. Is there's nothing that can replace a good residual application. We know with post products we're losing activity, so we're really in a space where we're leaning on residual chemistry to get the job done. So we talked about both components of Authority Supreme. This is a product that is available in an SC formulation, so a relatively low use rate. Typically, Lawson, we're running 6.5 ounces in this part of the world. So keep this in mind when you're making your programs for your soybean herbicide programs, whenever you're building those for pre-applications. And Lawson, is there anything you want to add about Authority Supreme?
Now I say let's go look at Authority Supreme when he puts Anthemax and Spartan together.
All right.
All right, so we're standing in a plot now that had 8 ounces of Authority Supreme 40 days ago, and this is just a pre-application. Really no weed emergence yet, and 4 rows of treated, obviously tremendous pigweed pressure and hard to kill pigweed right here. So I wanted to talk about really Authority Supreme and how we're using it currently across the Mid-South. There's a lot of flexibility in this product in terms of using it as a pre-plant herbicide. There's some people that are running it 2 weeks in front of the planter to make sure we get a pre-activated even before the planter goes to the field. So when we're going early like that, pre-plant, really want to increase those use rates, maybe 7 ounces, 8 ounces of Authority Supreme. It's kind of where guys are running. We had a few people that have taken pictures 6 weeks after an application of a pre-plant application and went 14 days ahead of the planter, and they're still clean on soybeans this year. So really sound program to use it in a burn down situation 14 days ahead of the planter, or you can come in pre. And most people using Authority Supreme pre right behind the planter are using it at 6.5 ounces and maybe adding in some metribuzin as well. But this is what happens when you put Anthemax and Spartan together. Really complementary active ingredients to make Authority Supreme. Provides broad spectrum weed control with a long lasting residual that should allow for some flexibility and timing to make your post application.
Yeah, and Lawson, with all the issues, whether it's water hemp or Palmer Amaranth, we've really seen an increase in sales of Authority Supreme. A lot of use, a lot of happy customers with this. So, if there's any questions, always reach out to the field sales reps or me or Lawson. But we've got a lot of information about Authority Supreme on our website. That's where you can find labels, 2 double E's, anything of that nature is on ways to use Authority Supreme and a soybean system. That website is ag.fmc.com. We appreciate you watching the video and hope you learn more about Authority Supreme.